You're going to experience design thinking in the design process in your own right as you work in teams, smaller teams, facilitated by Tom Vecchione of Gensler, Laurie Stein of Bruce Mao, Margie Novotny of Moto Group, Sandy Spiker of IDEO, Holly Macklin, Pet Lab Parsons, I'm finding you all in the crowd. So really, in a way, strap on your seatbelts because we're launching a rocket here today. We are taking up the opportunity that is just ripe in the world right now for new alignments, for change, and for getting things done in new ways. And that's why, while everyone certainly knows one, if not several people in this group today, no one knows everyone. And that's the point. It's catalytic. So thank you all. You're all very, very busy people. You've all moved a few mountains in order to join us here for this day. We are grateful beyond words. And with your energy and engagement, we're going to take this to a new place. And so to lead the way, great friend and colleague, Maurice Cox, design director from the NEA, Sarah Cunningham, director of art education at the NEA. We're in very capable hands among all of us. So let's get this done. Thank you for coming.
Greetings, everyone. I'm starting to feel like I'm coming home. I'm sure Philip Johnson would be shocked to hear me say that. And it's kind of thrilling to look out at this gathering and think that this is something that he helped create. The gender diversity in this room is pretty impressive. And so I'm just thrilled that we can use this expanded salon to talk about something that's vitally important to me, and that's design learning. When I came to the NEA 2 years ago, I was interested in how more and more people have access to design and the value that design can add to their lives. And I looked over at another division at the NEA, arts education, and I was amazed at the range of access that they were providing for all of the performing and visual disciplines through young people. And I just reflected on my own experience, how I got here, and how when that road began, and how important access to design learning was as I was growing up as a young man. And if it were not for those programs, quite frankly, that happened after the school day, I'm pretty confident that I wouldn't be standing here today. I would not have found my path. So it brought about the whole issue of how do we create this path for more and more and more young people. And through education or learning, and specifically through a partnership, we thought that we could have at least initiate that conversation. Our next challenge was, well, how do you take it outside of the realm of architects and people who identify themselves as designers and throw it out into the realm of people who are working in design every day? They don't frame it that way, but they are literally transforming the world. And so we brought together all of you. And architects and designers are actually the minority here. There are a wide range of people from the private sector, and so we purposefully rigged this so that architects and designers are kind of in the minority, because this is a conversation that we're trying to extend way beyond those who traditionally identify themselves with this field. So part of it has to do with understanding what your aspirations are, how you would use design and design learning as a way to transform the world for young people, and to actually get to a product of some kind that we could use, those of us at the National Endowment for the Arts, to try to imagine transforming design education, design learning on a national scale. So the benefit, we think, of having the National Endowment here is that we see traditionally a cross-section of what's going on, those proposals that come in the door, and we see the potential that might happen if they were somehow infected by even greater thinking and greater access. And so that's what you're here for. We're going to hopefully use the brain power collected here to help us transform how design learning is being thought of at the National Endowment. I'm going to introduce my kind of partner in crime, Sarah Cunningham, who really has kind of befriended me and at the NEA and helped me understand that the next wave of arts education, the one that really can transform the way we think about learning, is design. And so I think it's through her willingness to embrace what we do and the fundamental power that it has. It's been her willingness to have this dialogue that has kind of nudged me on to think that we're on to something really big. So, Sarah, I'm going to give you the mic for a bit.
Well, welcome everybody. Excuse me. I think it's a kind of mutual. You'll see that we kind of thrive in our engagement, and it's certainly the arts education we do in this country is nothing without the artists and the designers that are keeping focused on the task of the act in itself, so to speak, or the art in itself. So we're only as good in arts education as those of you who are perhaps creating the art or the design. Did everybody make a wish? Good, okay, I just want to make sure. So we're going to be using those, of course, in a little while, but maybe I should introduce myself a little bit, because I'm coming from a little bit of a different frame, and as well as kind of our conversations, I've been working nationally in arts education with teams from states around the country. So I have 20 teams that I've been working with. We've been talking about how would you design public education with arts at the core? How would you think about designing public education? What would the problem sets be? And we're doing it with, we're going through iterative processes with teams, and the teams have coaches, and the teams have visual note takers. And the people on the teams are people like Lieutenant Governor of Colorado, State Superintendent in Colorado, Head of Arts Council in Colorado, teaching artists in Colorado. That was part of the Colorado team, a principal, a district leader. But the important thing about this project that we've been doing is that this country's education system is based on state legislatures, quite a bit. 83% of the education funding in this country comes from the states, not the federal government. Federal government plays a role, so I'm getting really wonky, but I think that we're starting to look around, and I use the Mayor's Institute as a model. You might know the NEA's Mayor's Institute on City Design for this project we've been working on. And we realized that not only do these educators need access to the pioneers of thinking and transformation, and those of you who are thinking at those kind of edges of the horizon, they really need to, they're ready, they're open, they're accepting, they're just not getting the opportunities, number one. Number two, they're not engaging in iterative creative processes. So if our people who are designing our education systems in this country don't engage in creative iterative processes, they create environments that are art-phobic. Not art-philic. So for me, my problem is that I might be asking to engage with you all on is that I represent 14 artistic disciplines: dance theater, musical theater, design, visual arts museums, folk and traditional arts, music and opera. So I struggle with how can we create environments that allow those all to thrive with each other, so that they're not fighting for attention. So for example, our schools have music and visual arts in them, but theater and dance fight to be in schools. And so not only were Maurice and I kind of talking on a particular level about why is it that a lot of kids are getting kind of high school or college level curriculum that's sort of dumbed down for the middle school if they want to do design. But then how can design thinking kind of engage in the larger conversation. So that's where we are. We don't have solutions. Really, it's just a conversation, and we are so fortunate that the Glass House and Shared has been supportive, and the Catalan Institute in making this happen today, because we're actually asking you as the federal government for your help. Really, we're asking for your help in defining what we're looking at and where you think we should be going. And I think we're really excited about this process because we don't often have this opportunity, and the kind of brain trust here is just sort of stupefying to me, actually. But I want to say one more thing about my background, just because I don't know many of you, just to frame it, which is that I'm trained in philosophy, so I have a PhD in philosophy, and I studied imagination. And how, what are the limits of our curiosity, and under what situations do we love to engage in an unsolvable problem, which I think is the heart of learning, is that curiosity and imagination that allows you to be fueled to continue again and again to engage in problem solving. I helped start the Oxbow School in Napa, California, which is a visual arts program for high school kids you might be familiar with. A lot of design practice we did there, a lot of partnerships with artists and organizations. And when I got to the NEA, I was really surprised, like all these people that I was interacting with at Oxbow, like where are they? They're not in conversation with me down. So I think we can say that like we're already solving some of those problems by talking with you today. And I think maybe I'll leave it at that, but we do have some philosophers here, I know, which is very heartening to me as a philosopher. And we do have different kinds of thinkers, so I would also encourage you, this is probably just a given for this group, but we're not here to think alike. We're here to be sort of divergent and like celebrate the crazy divergent thinking that you might bring to the table. That's why you were probably recommended or invited to be here. So I would glorify that quality of your personality right now. And I think that's it in terms of framing why the NEA is here. I think we're going into a new time of understanding what the NEA is, and so I hope that that's part of this conversation as well.
I'll add that one of the challenges that we face is annually in design, we give out hundreds of thousands of dollars for design K through 12 curriculum initiatives that are just out there. And part of the struggle is there is really no there's a fledgling national network, thanks to the work of groups like AAF and CAF, Chicago Architecture Foundation, of people who are focused on design as a curriculum model. What we get, I would say, is any and everything that walks in the door. And very often, it doesn't have the benefit of the rigor of having been around a long time or having had to be assessed or tested in the field. As Sarah said, it tends to be fundamentals of design that you might get in an architecture school in your first year, dumbed down for the high schooler, dumbed down for the middle schooler. And so it actually is not often age appropriate. It actually is often done without the consultation of teachers who have to translate this into the lives of kids. It's often done outside of the very context that the kids live in. And it's done in a room, a studio with fluorescent lights. And so our challenge is there a better way to transform young people's lives using design? Given the platform that the National Endowment for the Arts has, which is pretty broad, is there a better way to do it? Is there a better way to get to the aspirations of these wishes? And if so, what might they look like? So we're looking for the variety of templates for how these aspirations might actually be made manifest through what we have to offer. And there are really only a few requirements that the EDA has. It has to be excellent. It has to promote excellence, artistic excellence, design excellence in what we are delivering to the American people. It has to be relevant to their lives. So there's this kind of application, importance, relevance to their lives. And we all know that for better or for worse, they're surrounded by design. And often it's not contributing to their quality of life. So relevancy is important. Impact is important. If we're going to talk about transformation, it has to actually reach a pretty broad and diverse audience. So impact is really something we look for, a sense of wishes that spoke to you as you walked around the room. And I don't think there was any particular order. And just read out loud one of the panels that you're near, so that people can start to hear what the aspirations of this group is for the work we're going to do today. So zoom in on one of these panels, pick them up, and let us hear it. Just grab one.
Can we just also add that in service of action, we know that we would love to have folks get to know each other, and we're relying on you to engage with each other rather than providing introductions to the whole group. You might point out the facilitators and you'll get to know them in your group, but just to say that we want to use the time that we have together in conversation.
I wish to inspire imagination and possibility. Margaret. I wish children and youth had opportunities in schools to explore ideas about design and designing. It's Paul Sproul.
I wish kids would learn that by designing something, they are changing their world, character.
I wish that design education leaps out of the schools to become a factor of daily activity, a fact of life. Perhaps there could be resources available to present and represent design and architecture on subway walls and shopping malls, in vacant storefronts and urban streetscapes. Rick Bell.
I wish the sense of empowerment that comes from the first time you realize you can build, to be a builder, and that building is a way of seeing all around would be part of everyone's experience. Danielle,
I wish for young people to lead the design of everything indoors.
I wish students felt inspired, empowered, and encouraged to learn in their worlds outside the classroom. Ashley.
I wish design literacy becomes more ubiquitous, enabling young people to see creativity in their environments and to become self-aware creators in turn. Vigilanti Rao.
I wish that all my students are as excited when they get home as my 8-year-old daughter is.
I wish that every child had a mentor to provide him or her with the visual, mental, and emotional tools to marvel at great design, to insist upon great design, and to abhor the pedestrian, the shoddy, and the bland. Chase W. Rind.
I wish we respected and loved our children enough to design and provide beautiful schools for them. Donna Glassford.
I wish all citizens to be creative and curious throughout their lives. Dee Dunn.
I wish that as a society we understood the possibilities and value of engaging children in directly making their schools, neighborhoods, and cities. Children as agents of change.
I wish that all K-12 teachers felt empowered as designers. Sandy Spiker.
I wish to use the power of play to encourage individual style, empathy, and imagination in and out of school. Colleen Macklin.
I wish that design would be used in all of our classrooms to teach problem solving and to inspire change. Christina Jenkins.
I wish youth could learn to actively remake their worlds as an iterative process. They can. John Martin. Did we get them all?
No lack of ambition here.